Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Welcome to our Westchester Weekly Update. Today is Monday, October 30th, just one day before Halloween, and we're happy to give you an update on some of the issues that are pending right now in Westchester County. I'll be joined, as I am in each of these updates, by Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins. We have with us the Mayor of the Village of Tarrytown, Karen Brown, who will be here in just a second at the podium. Every week we try to have one of our municipal partners join us from one of the villages, towns, or cities to tell us what's happening in their corner of Westchester County. There are 45 incorporated local governments in Westchester County, and each one has different challenges and different stories to tell, so we're happy to tell those stories as we go along. We'll introduce you to a program for which we needed state legislation to help advance the Guardian ad Litem program. That is an access to justice program that will be very helpful, and we'll have our County Attorney John Nona here and some other people to sort of explain the program a little bit, tell you why it's important. We also have Janet Langsam, who will be here speaking on behalf of Arts Westchester, and then Ken and I will go over early voting information, parks information, migrant update, and things of that nature. First, we'll begin by inviting our municipal partner for today, the Mayor of the Village of Tarrytown, Karen Brown. Tarrytown has approximately 12,000 people. It is one of the gateway communities of Westchester County. If you are coming from upstate New York on the New York State Thruway and you cross over the new bridge, you come into Tarrytown. What you see is one of the first introductions to Westchester County. It's a beautiful community. It is a river town, and it has great river views and a lot of great assets, parks assets. We're all working together on Riverwalk improvements. But we're very happy to have the mayor with us here, and she's got a dynamic program at hand in the Village of Tarrytown. The Honorable Karen Brown. Madam Mayor, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, George.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, George, and it's lovely to be here with Ken and Ellen Hendricks. Tarrytown this time of year, the only thing we could really talk about is Halloween, because Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow is the Halloween central of Westchester County. It's a really, really busy season for us this year, with busloads of tourists showing up to see our historic sites, our downtown, and so many other things. Our beautiful foliage. Tarrytown is a Tree City, USA, and we just have gorgeous trees that are turning this time of year, and it's a beautiful place to visit. I've been hearing from merchants that we've had so many tourists this year that this October will pay their bills for the rest of the year. So there's another great reason to open up a business in Tarrytown. I hope everybody can go to either lowhud.com or the Tarrytown Parade Facebook to see great pictures and videos of the event. I'd like to take a minute to thank our DPW. We had about 15,000 people at the Halloween parade, and it was a tremendous job to set up, but a monstrous job to clean up from the parade. And I was downtown on Sunday morning, and you could barely tell that 15,000 people had been in the street the night before. I also want to give a big thank you to our police department, particularly Chief John Barbalette. He had a 10-page security plan that allowed everybody to celebrate in safety, and there was no incidents throughout the parade, and that's a really big component of being able to celebrate these days, to feel secure. We're all going to take a bit of a breather this month, the month of November, and then when the end comes, the fun starts again with the Trudy Dunbar 5K race. There's a bunch of different levels to run in that race, and the winners get free turkeys. So please, everyone, come out and run there. We're going to be having a winter stroll this year, which starts out at a beautiful winter holiday market that's sponsored by a Best of Westchester Farmers Market, the Tash Market at Patriots Park, and there are activities to stroll people down to Best of Westchester Main Street for activities on that night. That's December 5th, and it's also the tree lighting in Tarrytown. We have a beautiful tree in Tarrytown that lights up the holidays. We have a really good time in Tarrytown, but we're also really serious about some things, one of which is taking care of our environment. And just recently, Tarrytown was recently named a bronze level community, climate smart community by Sustainable Westchester, because we've taken steps to lower our carbon footprint, and we continue to do so. We've also just been awarded a federal grant called Safe Streets for All, and that's going to help us look at our streets and our roads and figure out a way to make it more walkable and keep some of our cars off the road and keep our pedestrians more safe. Most of all in Tarrytown, though, we care about one another, and we have 2 food pantries, a community closet, and a myriad of volunteer organizations that take care of the various segments of our diverse community. So I encourage everyone to come to Tarrytown, have a great meal at one of our restaurants, see a show at the wonderful Tarrytown Music Hall, and get to know the people of our village. We welcome you, and we are honored to be a part of Westchester, and I thank everybody for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Bye-bye.
That's Mayor of the Village of Tarrytown, Karen Brown. And I just want to highlight that we talk a lot about intermunicipal cooperation around the county between different levels of government. I can't think of 2 communities that work more closely together than the Village of Tarrytown and the Village of Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow was once called the Village of North Tarrytown, but in so many different activities, including the parade that was just conducted, the 2 communities work together, and that is a great sign that can be replicated elsewhere in the county. The Tarrytown Sleepy Hollow combination is known as TASH, T-A for Tarrytown, S-H for Sleepy Hollow. They have a weekly farmers market at Patriots Park, sponsored by the local Chamber of Commerce and these communities, and the Chamber of Commerce itself is a joint Tarrytown-Sleepy Hollow effort. So kudos to Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow for having a joint effort that together we think is very important. So, and thank you, Karen, for being with us. We have some other topics we want to cover while we have the time. I want to mention, first of all, something that's very timely because of the time of the year that we're in. Our Westchester County Department of Probation has a program every year that is conducted on Halloween evening, and it is designed to keep those who are registered sex offenders off the streets, not in a situation where they might interact with young trick-or-treaters. This is the 17th year of this program through the department, and it is an anti-sexual abuse victim impact program. What it is that all those who have been a registered sex offender on probation is required to go to an educational program that's going to be held tomorrow night, Halloween night, at the Westchester County Courthouse. That's, again, Tuesday, October 31st, from 5:30 to 10 p.m. This is a requirement. They must be there. While they are there, the offenders will hear compelling accounts of the devastation that's been perpetrated on children and adult victims, gain insight into how those acts can reverberate all throughout a victim's life. Curtis St. John, the past president of MaleSurvivor.org, will share his stories and experiences among those regarding the impact of abuse, and as well as his road to recovery. We also have some other speakers who are going to be there, and we think it's very important. And what it does by requiring them to be there is they're not out in a community setting where something might happen as little kids go door-to-door trick-or-treating. So it's a program that our Department of Probation has done regularly, and we think it's the right thing to do. We hope you think it's the right thing to do as well, and to try to keep our kids safe while they're out trick-or-treating. So I'm going to ask Ken Jenkins to join me here. Before we go on to the next topic, we want to cover the fact that there's early voting going on right now for the 2023 election cycle. Ken has some statistics as to how Westchester has fared so far, and then he'll give us the early voting hours, and then I'll give you the locations that you can vote at.
All right, thanks, George. And certainly we had a beautiful day to start early voting this Saturday, which was open from 10 to 6, Saturday and Sunday. And today, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the hours for all the early voting sites that George is going to mention is 8 to 4 p.m. Tomorrow, Tuesday, and this Thursday, it's noon to 8 p.m. And again, the following Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 6. We have done fantastic here in Westchester County. The two-day total, we are at 6,202 voters that participated on Saturday and Sunday. And obviously yesterday it was raining for the 8th weekend in a row. But we still are well ahead of our friends in the Bronx that have 1,653 people that have voted early voting. Manhattan is number one in the city at 4,851 votes. Queens, 4,215 votes. And in Brooklyn, 4,008 votes. Once again, the people of Westchester County is showing again to take advantage of all the opportunities for early voting at the 24 early voting sites that George is going to mention.
Thanks very much, Ken. I just want to reemphasize, Westchester County has had more people vote early in the first 2 days than any of the four major boroughs, and all of them have much greater populations than Westchester. Brooklyn's 2.2 million. The other ones are all 1 point significant number of million people. We are just 1 million people, and I think that's a great sign of Westchester residents coming out to vote early. There are 23 early voting locations around the county, and wherever you live, you can vote at any one of these locations. So you can go into one of these centers on the other side of the county, give them your address, and they'll know how to pull down the ballot that's specific to you. I happen to live in the city of Rye, so I will get a Rye ballot that will show the city council seats that are up in the county legislative race proportionate to my area. If Ken is standing behind me in line, he will get the ballot that applies to his section of Yonkers. And this is the capacity at all 23 of these centers. So they're listed in alphabetical order. But, you know, something that's close to you makes it more convenient for you or close to where you work. At the Croton Municipal Building on Van Wyck Street in Croton-on-Hudson, the Eastchester Public Library, heart of Eastchester, right above Four Corners, Oak Ridge Place, Greenberg Town Hall on Hillside Avenue, White Plains, it's right off of Route 119, just about 2 blocks up from there. Hastings-on-Hudson Public Library on Maple Avenue, not up the hill from the train station, right across 1 block down from VFW Plaza. In Harrison, St. Gregory the Great Church on Halstead Avenue. In Mamaroneck at the Mamaroneck Town Center, that is the main governmental office for Mamaroneck Town Center, and the easiest way to tell you is it's right across the street from Boston Market. Things are where they are. Mount Kisco Public Library, right in the heart of town where the library and the village hall is, in the heart of Mount Kisco on Main Street. The Mount Pleasant Community Center at 125 Lazo Drive. Seniors meet there. There's a pool area there, very well known in the area. In Ossining at the Caputo Community Center, 95 Broadway, just down the hill from Route 9 Broadway and 1 block in from Main Street. The Pound Ridge Townhouse on Westchester Avenue in Pound Ridge, just north of the Scotts Corner intersection area. Rybrook Firehouse, 940 King Street, major road in Rybrook. Somers Townhouse, the seat of government in the town of Somers, Route 202, right in the heart of the Somers intersection. Jefferson Village in the town of Yorktown Heights, 3500 Hill Boulevard. And there's another site in Yorktown at the Yorktown Cultural Center, 1974 Commerce Street, and that's right in the heart of Yorktown Heights where the business area exists. The Dole Center in Mount Vernon, 250 South 6th Avenue, right off of 4th Street. Also in Mount Vernon City Hall, Roosevelt Square in the heart of town. In New Rochelle at the City Hall Annex, 90 Beaufort Place, that's around the back of City Hall, which fronts out to North Avenue. Around the back is the City Hall Annex. And then in the north end of New Rochelle at the United Methodist Church, 1200 North Avenue. In Peekskill, there are 2 locations. At the Lincoln Depot Visitor Center down on Water Street. And if you're not going there to early vote, you should go there to see the museum. It's terrific. And then the Peekskill Neighborhood Center, 4 Nelson Avenue, and that is where the library is located, the Senior Nutrition Center, right across the street from Peekskill City Hall. Here in White Plains at the Westchester County Board of Elections on Quaropus Street. And then in Yonkers, 3 locations at the Grinton Will Library on Central Park Avenue, just south of Tuckahoe Road, Nodine Hill Community Center on Fillmore Street, up where the Tree City streets are, and the Yonkers Riverfront Library just around the train station at Larkin Center. And do I know my geography? Those are 23 locations. Any one of them can accommodate your early voting, and we think that that's an opportunity for you to vote. Early voting will end, as Ken said, this Sunday, so when we do this next week, we will still have regular election day on Tuesday, November 7th, and we'll talk about that when we get to next week. I'd like Ken to now do the introduction, get all my numbers together here, for the presence that we have of Janet Langsom, who's here with us electronically to talk about Arts Westchester.
Thanks, George. Arts Westchester is the leading nonprofit arts council for Westchester, serving Westchester County with a mission to make the arts integral to and integrated into every facet of our life here in Westchester County. Arts Westchester supports the arts in Westchester through a variety of programs and initiatives. As we head into this budget season, we wanted to make sure to invite Janet Langsom, the CEO of Arts Westchester, to share a few words. Here's Janet.
Thank you, County Executive George Latimer, for giving me this opportunity to talk about arts and culture in Westchester. I'm Janet Langsom. I'm the CEO of Arts Westchester, and I'm pleased to be here to talk about the arts and tell Westchester residents how great an arts community we have. First of all, we have made it through COVID. The many organizations that operate movies, concerts, visual arts, galleries, have all survived, and that's a good thing. They've survived, but there's still trauma. The fact that the county of Westchester has such a solid partnership with Arts Westchester has really enabled us to survive. When I say we still have some challenges, what are they? They are fewer audiences. And then, of course, prices are higher. So the arts organizations are having their challenges. However, there is a very bright future ahead. And by this I mean the fact that Arts Westchester just did a study, and we do that every 5 years with Americans for the Arts, and guess what? $182 million annually gets pumped into the Westchester economy by the arts and culture here. And that includes restaurants, people going to plays. In fact, the spending that each person makes is $27 in addition to their ticket. Could be for dinner or a drink, but that's not the only good news, because we see something happening in Westchester that's quite unusual. First of all, people are moving from New York City to Westchester, Hudson Valley, Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, moving upstate. And that has been to the benefit of arts and culture in Westchester, simply because a lot of the people who are moving up here are creatives, are writers, are graphic designers, are playwrights. And what does that do? That gives us a talent pool here in Westchester that's enviable. 48% of the people who moved up to Hudson Valley are creative people. So frequently also working from home. So that talent pool is a really important aspect of what's happening here in Westchester, because there are 15 studios, movie studios, sound studios, that are popping up in Yonkers, and another 6 are popping up in Hastings, and more in Portchester. So what does that mean? There's a creative pool of talent. There's some new beginnings of a film industry here in Westchester. People want to live in creative communities, and that's what Westchester is about. There's the Bedford Playhouse, there's the Jacob Burns Film Center, the Pelham Arts Center, Hudson River Museum in Yonkers. Everybody who lives in a terrific community in Westchester wants to have something that is cultural and artistic, and people want to go to the arts right around the corner. So we do have a very rosy future ahead for arts and culture if we can get through this end of COVID. Westchester, frankly, has the opportunity to be the creative capital of New York State. And with that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk about the arts, and let you know that you can text me at any time at jlangsam@artswestchester.org. And thank you for your time and attention.
We thank Arts Westchester for driving economic development in Westchester County. We know over $180 million of residual business happens because of the arts. Thank you, Arts Westchester, and the entire staff at Arts Westchester. Back to you, George.
Thank you, Ken. All right, next up, we want to bring up with us our County Attorney, John Nona, and Senior Assistant County Attorney, Susan Kettner, to join us here at the podium to help outline a program that is in effect in Westchester County. This is called the Guardian Ad Litem program, and I'll let them explain it since they're lawyers. Both of them have served as judges. John was a judge in Pleasantville, and Susan was a judge in the city of New Rochelle. But the county government, the general government, was involved in trying to help state legislation pass that would allow for indemnification of these guardian ad litems, and this is a positive step. The governor recently signed the bill. I'll tell you a little bit more about that first and credit some of the other people on our team. But first, John Nona, our county attorney, and Susan Kettner.
Hello. So this program is called the Guardian Ad Litem program. What does the ad litem mean? Ad litem means for a particular proceeding. So what does the Guardian do? It helps people in eviction proceedings and other landlord-tenant proceedings who are somewhat incapacitated, don't understand the proceedings against them for whatever reason, whether it be a mental reason or emotional reason. It helps them resolve the case at no cost to that person. They don't have to, the person who's a guardian ad litem does not have to be a lawyer. They help the person in that case, and they can also help them access other services that that person may need in order to be able to stay in the apartment or dwelling place that they're in. We're very fortunate to have partnered with the court system, thanks to Administrative Judge Ann Minahan and other judges, Judge Heyer, Judge Giacomo, who have worked with us to implement this program and allow it to move forward. We also needed the help of our state legislation to pass state law to protect these guardians ad litem who step up for a very low compensation, $750 to do this work. And I want to specifically thank and introduce Susan Kettner, who took the laboring oar in dealing with our state delegation and dealing with the court system in enabling this program to implement and move forward. We're the only county outside of, we're the only county, in fact, New York City has a program, but we're the only county in New York State that has this program to protect people who need help in these eviction proceedings.
Okay, thank you so much, John. And first I want to start out with, I want to thank County Executive Latimer for understanding immediately how valuable this program is for the marginalized and poor people who reside in our county of Westchester. I thought it'd be perhaps easiest to explain, based on my 10 years experience as a New Rochelle City Court judge, what happens, how the Guardian Ad Litem program actually functions in the court, and the people that it's designed to serve, and who all the actors are. I promise there's not going to be a quiz at the end of my talk. So let me start by saying that in the city courts all throughout Westchester, there are a number of them, they have daily landlord-tenant calendars where tenants are called to appear in court under threat of eviction. Failure to appear in court results in a default judgment against you and a visit by the city marshal and the loss of your home. That's how that works in a nutshell. So a typical day in court, the court officer will come out, he'll call the landlord-tenant cases, and all of a sudden he calls case number 3, Acme Realty versus Jane Doe. The landlord's attorney for Acme comes up, good morning, Your Honor, introduces himself. There's no Jane Doe. And the judge is sitting here like, I'm standing here now. What's going on? So all of a sudden, that particular day, we were lucky to have one of the attorneys from the legal services of the Hudson Valley who represents indigent defendants in our courts all throughout the county of Westchester. That attorney comes up, she says, Judge, you know, I'm Sarah Stevens. I'm from Legal Services of the Hudson Valley. Jane Doe is not able to appear today. Her sister stopped by earlier before you came on the bench. her sister Eileen came by with Eileen's 2 small children. She couldn't stay. She had to get the children to daycare because she's an hourly worker and she could not afford to take off of work. So the legal services attorney says, Judge, I'm requesting that you issue an order immediately appointing a guardian ad litem to appear on behalf of Jane Doe. So what has happened in the interim, the judge will inquire of the legal services Hudson Valley attorney and say, well, if you feel comfortable telling the court, what did Jane Doe's sister tell you? And she said, well, she said that she has very serious mental health issues. And I can tell you, Judge, she is living in an apartment that is hoarded. And she has mental illness issues, and there are small children who reside with her. And so this kind of gives the judge like a global picture. So what happens from there? The judge issues an order, a written order, and hands it to the legal service attorney. They take that order and they fax it over to the Westchester County Department of Law. And basically what that triggers, we provide instructions and paperwork. The guardian selected by the judge has had very extensive training. And by the way, it's not only the guardians who have extensive training, the judge has extensive training and is a very experienced judge. And you have the lawyer who's appearing for the landlord, who more likely than not is going to have experienced guardian ad litem training. So I can tell you what happened. Fast forward, now I'm off the bench having retired, and now I'm a county court. I'm working for the County of Westchester in the law department. And in my capacity as representing the Adult Protective Services, I was called into a very similar case that emanated from the town of Mamaroneck. There was an elderly man who had resided in a building, an apartment building. It's now a co-op on Chatsworth Avenue, and it's become very upscale. But this man, who was 79 years old, was dealing with hoarding disorder. And the key thing, I'm sure the judge realized this right away, he lived there for his entire life. So that means, number one, he had probably rent control protection in that apartment, and if not that, was an ETPA protected tenant. His failure to show up would mean that he would lose his apartment. I was on the Zoom meeting with APS, the guardian, and fast forward, they got the services necessary for him to retain his apartment. Thank you very much, and thank you for funding this very valuable program.
John? Okay, thank you. Thank you both, John and Susan. Let me just try to pull some of these threads together. And if you guys don't mind, I just want to highlight that Justice James Heyer from the 9th Judicial District is now administering the program. We expect that the court will have a major announcement which will lay out the whole program. You got a taste of what it is today. The state legislation was necessary to indemnify those individuals who might be designated as guardians. If without that indemnification they might not agree to be guardians, then you wouldn't have the people you need, as was described by John and Susan. I want to make sure that we understand that the county's role was a bridge role. We provided temporary indemnification so that the program could continue in these various courts. And now that the state has stepped up, we want to thank Governor Kathy Hochul for her leadership on this. We had 2 state legislators that sponsored the state bill and did yeoman's work, State Senator Shelley Mayer and State Assemblyman Nader Sage, and they both helped shepherd this through. It was not an easy bill to get through. Both John and Susan had conversations with staffers from both of the 2 houses that had detailed questions and wanted to know about economic impacts, and we were able to overcome most of those situations. Let me credit as well from our executive team, Diane Atkins, who has really been involved in all of our access to justice issues, along with Ken Jenkins. And then from our intergovernmental team, the people that work with the state legislative delegation, Steve Bass, who's the director of intergovernmental relations, Copernicus Crane, who's our assistant director of intergovernmental relations, and Max Gerozis, who's done really a terrific job, the 3 of them, in helping maneuver what's necessary whenever we lobby on a piece of legislation. So working in cooperation, 3 different levels of government, judiciary, judiciary, executive, legislative, we've been able to accomplish this. We'll let the court system now lay out all of the game plans, knowing that we have done that which we could do and could do properly. And again, thank you to all those involved, particularly thank you, John, thank you, Susan, for being here today. We're going to talk a little bit about what's up in our parks. Usually that's Ken's specialty. He keeps tabs on it. So Ken, tell us what's going on at our various parks.
Yeah, thanks, George. Coming up in the park system this weekend on Saturday, November 4th, we're going to have the Wonderful Leaves program that up at Lasden Park. It's going to be from children ages 2 through 8. Parents must accompany, or their guardians must accompany the children. We're going to take a walk and see which leaves have and have not fallen. It's absolutely beautiful this time of the year. When we're getting close to Election Day, it's always a good time for George, myself, certainly John Nolan and Susan from their past electoral activities, but it's always great seeing wonderful leaves turning at Lasden Park. On the 4th as well, up at the Trailside Nature Museum at Ward Pound Ridge, up in Cross River, ferns and mosses in the native wildflower garden. Join a walking tour of the little evergreens in the Trailside's native plant garden. You're going to learn about their life cycles, learn how to recognize common species, and how to use them in gardens. That's going to be Saturday the 4th from 10 to 11, and I know our crack team is making sure that the websites are at the bottom of the screen and the telephone numbers as well. Saturday, we're going to have an open house at Miller House. So it's going to be a formal visit from 11 to 1. It's an open house at the Elijah Miller House on 140 Virginia Road in White Plains, right off the Bronx River Parkway. So drop in to visit the former home of Ann and Elijah Miller and their family. An average colonial Westchester family whose lives were changed forever when General George Washington and his army fought for American independence. Sunday the 5th, we're going to have the farmers market at the Alfred B. Del Bello Muscoot Farm in Katona. That's going to feature those local 20 vendors like you had every week, and it's going to continue right through November 19th. So we're getting towards the end of that farmers market cycle, but take advantage of that because it's 20 local vendors, and it's fantastic, and you never know when you're going to see the county executive, right? November 5th, 11 to 12, walking tours of shrubs for seasons, again at Lasden Park. So you're going to get an opportunity on Sunday the 5th at Lasden, 11 to 12, explore a wide variety of shrubs that can add interest to your landscape throughout the season. And finally, you should make sure to take advantage of signing up for the Parks E-Club weekly newsletter. It's been revamped recently, and be sure to sign up for that. Join the Parks E-Club today and get up-to-the-minute program and event information, updates, and promotions, plus valuable discounts delivered right to your inbox. Back to you, George.
Thanks very much, Ken. So we'll close with the most recent information on the migrant asylum seekers. We have had no change in this situation now for over 4 months, almost 5 months. So I think what we'll do is in future weeks, we'll give you an update if something changes, but there's been no change. I'll just mention again where we've been with the different situations. We have 3 placements that date back 5 months ago in Yonkers, at the Ramada Plaza, and 4 months ago in locations in Ardsley and in White Plains. And in White Plains, it's located at the Courtyard Motel that's on Central Avenue right at the border of Greenburgh. There we have 20 rooms set aside. In Ardsley Acres, 30 rooms set aside. And we have 88 rooms set aside in Yonkers at the Ramada Plaza right off of Tuckahoe Road. The combination of these 3 locations represents a little over 400 migrants. Probably about a third of them are children, 2/3 are adults. They've been here now for a while, and there have been no crimes, no incidents of crimes, no incidents of disease spread. All the fears that were out there, there were fears that they would be placed in lots of other places. That has not materialized. So I think we've shown that exactly what we said we would. We'd manage this situation. I remind you that we have called for this federal government to provide quicker turnaround on waivers for working. They have not yet done that. I've also advised in the past that we've asked for a special immigration court to be placed in our U.S. District Court here in White Plains. They have not done that. with the belief that if people are working and paying taxes, and if they have their cases adjudicated in their backyard, we could move this process through faster. That has not yet happened, but we continue to advocate for those things. It's also important to note that as we deal with these issues, it is not the authority of the town, the cities, the villages, or the county to either accept or reject these migrant placements. They're legal placements, as was established by law. A federal judge came in and made it very clear that there was no executive order that could prohibit these placements. We've managed it so far as reasonably well as we can. We understand that there are people whose position is they don't want asylum seekers here. I understand that as a position. I also understand that there are people that want to help their fellow individuals who are here, and while they're waiting for their cases to be adjudicated, want them to be as productive as they can be here in the United States and not treated as pariahs. So there's different points of view. That gets resolved on federal election day as to which direction this country goes in terms of its immigration policy. We as managers have to manage what is in front of us in as practical a way as possible. We've been able to do that. It has not cost the Westchester taxpayers any additional money, and we continue to try to accommodate, as we do in everything, a rational means of dealing with the problems that we have in front of us. So we'll close off by saying, once again, early voting is underway. Today being Monday, polls will stay open at those 23 locations until 4 o'clock. Tuesday and Thursday, you can vote late, up to 8 o'clock at those locations. For the remaining days of Wednesday and Friday, it starts earlier in the day, 8 a.m. You could do it in the morning. And then Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 6. For this coming weekend, you take off next Monday, and then next Tuesday's Election Day. And you are voting for positions for the state Supreme Court, 4 positions, a position for county court, which is a criminal court of jurisdiction. You have 17 Westchester County legislators. 1 represents you wherever you may live in Westchester County. And then there are town, village, and city elections all across the board. There are 2 referenda that are placed on the ballot from the state. And you're welcome to check out the Westchester League of Women Voters. They have analysis on the referendum items, and you can draw your opinion with a little bit of reading. I'm George Latimer. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week, give you a few more updates as we close out this election cycle and as we get ready for the delivery of the 2024 Westchester County budget for the discussion and review of the Board of Legislators and the people of Westchester County. Have a great day.